Check, check. 1, 2. Test. Mic. Test 1, 2. Check, check. Check. Test.
Running late otherwise. So very, very good evening uh, of this dialogue on and yeah. I think we also want a group photo, all of us. Would you like to do it now? Right away? Maybe later. After. So, on that note, a warm welcome, and we have amongst us, Your Excellency, a very diverse set of people uh, leading the discourse of development and narrative of this region, of this state, amidst us. So, may I just make a quick the fact that the cultural connect between the Republic of Korea and this part of India is so strong, perhaps the strongest. And when today we are talking about Northeast India, Republic of Korea, India, special strategic partnerships and the way forward, I just wanted to frame it around, we thought we could frame it around three pillars. One is the bilateral relations between the Republic of Korea and India, and how the context of that in the overall aspect of the Indo Pacific, in the world of geopolitics, Northeast as a region. And on that front, I'd like to show you a map which we at Asian Confluence like to show, of the salience and the centrality of the region. So if you see that the dot is where we are right here, and we look at ourselves at the center of several concentric circles. One is we Northeast as a region of 7 states, 7 sisters, one brother, you know. Um, we as a region, uh, together with our immediate neighbors, we share neighborhood with, in the sub-Himalayan region, with Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. So, and and then immediately beyond that, we also share a very deep relation with the whole Southeast Asian region, which is the ASEAN. We have a connect to the Bay of Bengal. In fact, Shillong, this city, is very close to the Bay of Bengal. If you just go straight down south, it's it's a short driving distance of a few hundred kilometers. And this overall, how it we play in the overall context of Indo-Pacific. And I think today we can discuss a little bit about the bilateral relations between Korea and India in the overall context of the region as a whole. The second pillar is, I think, around trade and connectivity. This is a map we produced, which is about how well connected the region is if you look at it as being close to the Bay of Bengal region. And there are a lot of entrepreneurial energy here. So how do we work on those things with the great experience and the entrepreneurs of and the businesses with Korea? And the third is the cultural connect. And I'm so happy today that we have amongst us people of excellence from all these three fields. We have amongst us Ambassador Riwad Wajri, Ambassador River Walang, who are distinguished fellows, well-known diplomats. And chairing this session is Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, former Secretary East in the Ministry of External Affairs and member of the Asian Confluence Governing Council. We are also joined here today by um, Madam Shakuntala Gamling, who is a very well-known, civil servant. She served this region as Chief Secretary of Arunachal Pradesh and many other capacities. And I think perspectives of how this region is policy, that I think she would be in a very good position to share with us. We have amongst us, I think Dr. Nalin Mehta, is he? You're here. So you are heading an institution, a good institution of the region, which is the most premier healthcare center of the region, the Northeast, the Negrims. We have amongst us Dr. Shankar Kumar Jha, who is heading the National Institute of Fashion Technology. Uh, we have a representative from the Northeastern Hill University, Dr. Prasanjit Biswas is here. Um, and we have Munish Singh. I think he will join us from the Indian Council for Cultural Relations. So many institutional heads are here, and on the other side, we are so lucky to have Dr. Chu Chonge, from the Korea Institute of International Economic Policy amongst us. Is a premier think tank of Korea. And I was very impressed when you said that India is your third satellite office, the first two being Washington and Beijing, and you've opened an office in New Delhi. So that shows the salience of the relationship between the Republic of Korea and India, I think. And we are so really happy to have you amongst us. And then we have some of the most, you know, leading writers and columnists from this region. We have Madam Patricia Mukim, Padma Shri. She is a very, very well known writer. She's the editor of the leading daily here, the Shillong Times. And we are so happy, Kong, that you could be amongst us. We also have Dr. Samudra Gupta Kashyap, the Chief Information Commissioner of the state of Assam. And he is also not only the state information, but he is a very, very well respected journalist and a writer and a thinker for this entire region. So really happy that you are here. I think Dr. Ruben Lindo, he's not here yet, but he'll be joining us. And Dr. Sriparna Barua is here, advisor of the NEHHDC, which is the Northeast Handloom Handicrafts Development Council. As you know, this region is extremely potent in these areas, and she used to earlier head the Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship. And I think a connect between the entrepreneurs of this region and with Korea would be a great. So and of course, we are also joined here by our friends from the embassy, um, Mr. Lee Hyo Hee, who is the counselor, science and technology, in the Republic of Korean Embassy in New Delhi, Mr. Chan Ho Hyun, and Miss Hae-san. We had a very good interaction yesterday. Again, welcome. We're also joined by two of our very respected senior fellows, Dr. Hyome, who works on the region, Bay of Bengal, and Myanmar, Bangladesh in particular, Dr. Vinayak Datta, who works on partition and the history of this region. We are joined by um, uh, um, have I missed anybody? I'm sorry. We're joined by my very, very good friend, Pushpa Hargovan, who is a very leading cultural exponent of this region. So, without going too long, and also I'm joined here by the an entrepreneur herself, the daughter of Miss Gamling, who runs a very good institute in Arunachal Pradesh. We have a very good mix of people here, I think, which sets the tone. And of course, to by my able colleague Samhita, who's handling the logistics, and our director of legal and HR, and Pradyut Das, our research associate. So, on that note, a very, very warm welcome, Your Excellency, to the Asian Confluence, to Shillong. Again, I know it is your second visit. We're really looking forward to kind of culling out an agenda for work for the future, what can be done in the region. And I think now, maybe without me taking too much time, I think everybody is waiting to hear from you. So may I request you to kindly, uh, give your inaugural address to this seminar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for a warm welcome and felicitations. I am really pleased to be here at Asian Confluence, the most prestigious think tank in Northeast India, and have the opportunity to have interaction with you. I will also welcome every one of you who is present here today at this seminar, despite your busy schedule. And I find that Asian Conference, Mr. Dutta has a kind of convening power of good mix of people to have a good discussion about our future relationship. Actually, this year we celebrate the 50th anniversary of Korea-India diplomatic ties, and the relationship between our two countries has witnessed remarkable developments in various areas, including politics, economy, and culture, based on historic and cultural exchanges and that go way back to almost 2 millennia. Along with these developments, the relationship between Korea and India was elevated to special strategic partnership in 2015. Over the past 50 years, trade volume between our two countries has increased more than 1,600 times to reach 28 billion US dollars last year. On cultural front, Koreans and Indians are showing more and more affection to and interest in each other's culture. And the Natu Natu dance cover by our embassy going viral all over India is one good example of sharing and consuming each other's culture. I'm confident that Korea-India relationship will deepen and expand in all fronts for the next 50 years for many reasons. To name a few, India, the largest democracy in the world with a young population, is expected to rapidly grow in economic terms. And India, one of the most strategically important countries in the Indo-Pacific region, is an indispensable and natural partner for Korea in contributing to free, peaceful, and prosperous Indo-Pacific because we share core values such as freedom, human rights, and rule of law, etc. The title of today's seminar is Northeast India, ROK India Special Strategic Partnership and the Way Forward. Look-East policy developed in 1991 under the then Prime Minister Narasimha Rao was further revised and renamed as Act-East policy of India in 2014 under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Its focus is on building and enhancing strategic, economic, and cultural ties with countries in the East Asia Pacific region. And I came to notice that this Act-East policy is not just a rhetoric, but it has concrete and detailed action plans. The guidelines for the Prime Minister's Development Initiative for Northeast Region scheme, published last August, is one of the good examples to show the Indian government's determination to develop this region and use it as a bridge between India and its neighbors and partners in the East. An initial allocation of 1,500 crore rupees was made in the fiscal year 2022-2023 alone in accordance with the guidelines. Ever since I came to India as ambassador of Korea in 2021, actually July 2021, I and my colleagues at the embassy have discussed how we could explore potential to expand our engagements with Northeast region of India. It is not only because the 7 states, or 7 sisters and 1 brother of Northeast are considered the heart of Korean wave in India, but also because this region has so much potential for growth and development, being one of the favorite investment destinations for domestic and international companies. This region is strategically located, connecting the rest of India to East Asia and Southeast Asia. According to FICCI, this region is rich in resources, including oil and gas, agri-horticultural resources, mineral deposits with immense hydroelectrical potential. Korean companies have already invested, as you know, in automotive, electronics, and chemical sectors in India since 1990s, and more companies are exploring investment opportunities in various sectors such as pharmaceutical, renewable energy, organic farming, food processing, and tourism, etc. Now, as we have many experts in this roundtable discussion, including Ambassador Das on Korea-India relationship. Actually, Ambassador Das, the former the Secretary East of MEA, when after she retired and we had the dinner at my residence, and she told me about the Asian conference. So from that point, I had some idea to gather here or to kind of first the meeting kind of seminar to prepare Korea's strategy to be more engaged in this region. And then Dr. Cho Chung-jae on Korea's international economic policy, and then Dr. Duta on Northeast region, and among the distinguished participants today's seminar. I'm excited to hear your precious opinion and input on the future Korea-India relationship through engagements in this region. I'm confident that today's one small step will one day be a great leap for the two countries' relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Um, I would now just we are being live cast, right? Are we are live? I think, yeah. So a lot of people might be watching us on, or and a special warm welcome to those watching us online. Um, Now, I would like to hand over the proceedings to the chair of this discussion, Ambassador Riva Ganguly Das, our honorable member of the Governing Council of Asian Confluence. But not without mentioning, ma'am, that it was because of the first introduction that you made that we now, had this great opportunity to interact with on this subject, and His Excellency is here, and I think it's so very important that when you were Secretary East in the Ministry of External Affairs, and prior to that you served as our High Commissioner in Bangladesh, and both of these makes this region, your presence here, extremely relevant as to how things can be taken forward. And you know that the kind of people we have assembled here. So we're really happy that you are here to chair this session and give us that kind of the filtration of what can be done, taken forward. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I? It's working, no? Thank you, Sabya and Excellency. Thanks a lot for setting the stage for this discussion. We have many distinguished participants from all sectors, and as Sabyasachi explained, there's health sector, education, fashion. So we are all looking forward to a lively discussion. Uh, the focus of the discussion today is, of course, the relations between India and Republic of Korea, the larger relationship, and the role that this relationship can play in northeast of India, and the way forward. As Ambassador mentioned, it's a very timely discussion as India and ROK are celebrating 50 years of diplomatic relations this year. India is also holding the G20 presidency, and diplomatically, as you've all seen, it's been a very, very active year for India. And it's really a very good sign that this discussion on Northeast is taking place in Shillong itself with Korea, which is also one of the very important countries for the Act East policy that Government of India has. I must mention here that India and Korea, Korea of course has enormous soft power in the Northeast, and from K-pop to Korean dramas to Korean cosmetic products. I think Northeast is the place, and of course, not to forget food. Korea enjoys enormous soft power here, and likewise, India also has a lot of soft power in ROK. I have visited, professionally, I visited ROK a couple of times, and I went to the city of Gimhae, where, which traces a very interesting link between the princes. There is a legend that there was a princess from Ayodhya who went to Korea and married a prince there, and in 48 AD, and many Koreans trace their ancestry to this lineage. This was Princess Hyo, and so Gimhae and Ayodhya have actually built a very vibrant cultural relationship based on this legend. And so this is very interesting. Of course, Buddhism is there, a very strong link. We are very happy that we've been from time to time been able to gift very quality, good quality Buddha statues to, to many monasteries in Korea. Tagore wrote his famous Lamp of the East poem, which again, is a celebration of the high regard in which Indians have held Korea. In modern times, I think ROK has made, our relation has made huge strides, and the relationship has truly become multidimensional. We have seen very significant convergence of interests, as His Excellency mentioned. Mutual goodwill is there. There is high level exchange of visits. Since the introduction of President Moon Jae-in's new Southern policy in 2017, there have been many positive developments. ROK has been prioritizing its ties with India. President Moon's state visit to India in 2018, during which the two sides elaborated the shared vision of peace and prosperity, is very important in this regard. Uh, ROK is seen by India as an indispensable part of its Act East policy. So, in a sense, the new Southern policy and Act East policy are very complementary to each other, and the way our relationship is growing and developing now is probably very good demonstration of this convergence of two very important policy decisions at our levels. The launch of South Korea's first Indo-Pacific vision document, namely the Strategy for a Free, Peaceful and Prosperous Indo-Pacific in 2022 by the new administration of President Yoon Suk Yeol, has raised expectations naturally for another push to the relationship. And we see that high level visits and exchanges are taking place, and G20 presidency of India provides an ample opportunity for more exchanges. Um, I'm not dwelling too much on the trade figures and all, but we all know that the Korean investments in India are I mean, the Samsung, and Kia and Hyundai cars are virtually household names. So again, that enhances, that's of course a very important investment that India needs and wants. And also again, the image of Korea in India gets enhanced. So overall, coming to the Northeast, I think partition of India in 1947 cut off Northeast completely from its traditional trading routes. What is happening today with the with the relationship that has grown with Bangladesh, the Shonali Adhyay of our relationship? There are so many connectivity projects which are ongoing, and it's not as if these will take another 5-10 years to materialize. There are besides the re-establishment of the pre-1965 train links, there are new train links being added. One from Tripura, which is Akhoda Agartala train link. There is now access to Chattogram and Mongla ports, which the trial runs and all have been done, and it's a matter of time that commercial utilization of the two ports can be done. So after years of being separated, and the kind of difficulty that Northeast had in accessing ports, now port access is there. Inland waterway, more port of calls have been added through Bangladesh, and the road link, it is really, the time is very opportune for investments, a good infusion of investments into Northeast. Northeast is very rich in flora, fauna, and an awfully smart young population, very hardworking young population. And as ROK enjoys enormous soft power here, I think this is the time to explore the various opportunities that are here. So there are a lot of speakers today, and very interesting speakers. So let me straight away go into requesting some of you to share your thoughts with us first, and then we will have a round of question and answers if somebody has question and answers. Can I start with you, Dr. Cho? Maybe you can use this.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me, like these very wonderful roundtables with very high-profile persons. And Shillong, of course, the Meghalaya is the first visit for me. So once again, thank you again, relative persons from the Shillong, Meghalaya, and Asian Confluence, and Korean Embassy also. Especially, thank you so much. I appreciate Ambassador Jang Jae-bok and Executive Director Sabiasi Duta for giving me this very precious opportunity. The first impressions Shillong and Meghalaya gave me was familiarities. It's for me. I love India's diversity and inclusiveness. So I have been studying India economy for more than 30 years. But here in Meghalaya, I felt familiarity. I don't know why, as well as diversity. And the visions your Asian conference you already sent me through the emails is so wonderful. A stable and prosperous Asia where ecology is honored, diversity is celebrated, prosperity is shared, sovereignty is respected, and boundaries became connectors. Oh, it seems so relatable and wonderful for me. I was dispatched to Delhi, India, at the end of the last November. Kiev, Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, is a think tank that is funded by Korean government. I'm not belong to the government officials, but all of the fund come from Korean government. As the name suggests, Kiev is contributing to consulting on global economic issues and establishing related policies for the Korean government and private institute as well as private sector. To this end, Kiev is covering and researching various issues ranging from trade, investment, ODA, and recently securities and society and culture, and bilateral levels and multilateral level as well as mini-lateral level also. For more details for Kiev, I would like to give our brochure to your institute. In particular, the Kiev Delhi office is not just only for window of Kiev, but also serves as an inter-India cooperation platform for 26 think tanks belong to the National Research Council for Economics, Humanities, and Social Science, to which Kiev belongs. Each of 26 institutes specialize in all areas of society, such as economy, industry, infrastructure, and land development, urbanizations, energy, environment, information and communication, and agriculture, marine, health, education, women, and youth. Today's today around the tables, I would like to share with you the direction of the development cooperations between Korea and India, because Ambassador Jang Jae-bok and Secretary Ganguly Das already covered investment and trade, even the cultural exchange also, and the diplomatic policy also. So I would like to sharing our the development strategy for India. First, Korea, similar to other donor countries, selected priority partner countries and established and implemented mid to long-term cooperation plan for each country. India was included as one of the 27 priority countries in 2021. And a mid to long-term cooperation plan, we so-called the CPS, Country Partnership Strategy, was established in last year, 2022. I will share that with you very shortly. Korea has set the goal of the development cooperations with India to support India's economic development and promote economic exchange with India. In addition, India's midterm strategy for national development, development for New India at 75, was reviewed to identify India's cooperation needs, and Korea's cooperation capabilities were combined to establish 6 Korean assistance objectives. The first is support for elevating regional imbalance through urban development. And second is acceleration of economic growth through expansion of transportation infrastructure and improvement of logistics system. The third is support for enhancement of water resource management capabilities. And fourth is strengthen access to health, hygiene, and medical services. And fifth, support environmental protection and the response to climate change. And sixth is support the incorporation of ICT into transportation and public administrations. If we divide these into support area or fields, there are 7 areas: regional development, transportations, water management, health and hygiene, environment, green energy, and ICT. It was my spontaneous thought when it came to Shillong. But among these 7 fields, the water management, green energy, environment, and regional development came to mind first. Because you know very well, India's population is now world 1. India's population is account for about 18% of world populations, but India is water scale countries with only 4% of the world freshwater. Population is 80% covered all over the world, but freshwater just only 4% belong to India. India is really the water scale country. However, Meghalaya, you know very well, so-called the House of Clouds, right? Yeah, has the highest annual rainfall in India, and only 13% of hydroelectric power potential is being used. In addition, if we developed abundant the coal, limestone, I have seen so many stone business, food and medical plants in an eco-friendly way, and increase synergy by linking them with the ecotourisms. I believe that the income of 80% of agricultural population in Meghalaya can also be increased sustainably. It seems a newcomer to Shillong, Meghalaya, is talking too much. Lastly, the Kiev Delhi office, which are operated with, I already mentioned, Korean government budget, we can support and study what can promote cooperations and exchange between Korea and India, anything. So I look forward to continuing and expanding Kiev's the first contact with Shillong, Meghalaya, as well as northeast of India. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cho. I think you've mentioned a couple of very important sectors. We have a very powerful voice from the Northeast with us. A senior journalist, Ms. Patricia Mukim, is with us. She's also editor of Shillong Times. And I think there's nobody better equipped to articulate the Northeast position than her. May I, ma'am, request you to say a few words?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Das. Thank you for this opportunity. I think I was listening to Dr. Chong Jae and thinking of each of the things that he mentioned, that there is the space for collaboration because we have massive challenges of transportation. We have traffic jams which turn our world upside down. We can never reach any place on time, and we don't seem to have any idea how to resolve this crisis. Then you spoke of environmental protection and climate change. We are experiencing climate change, upfront. We never had a 30-degree temperature, even at the height of summer. This year we are having it. And we don't seem ready to be able to deal with these challenges. There are many things actually that challenge us in terms of alternative livelihoods, because we have been very, very fossil dependent. Uh, we've been mining coal very indiscriminately despite a ban. There was a ban in 2014 on our kind of mining, which is a rat hole mining. Uh, Despite the ban, the coal mining continues, and it's a big challenge. So of course there is a cause for using your natural resources, but not indiscriminately. We have two types of limestone mines in this state of Meghalaya. One is being locally mined without any environmental considerations, and the other is mined by an international cement giant, Lafarge. They are doing it very, very environmentally consciously, and they put in a lot of money up front for environmental costs. So that is another point. And we are very energy deficient. We have load sheddings every day at this time of the year. Then we don't seem to be having put enough of our energies into developing alternative energy, green energy, for instance. uh, and yet you spoke of organic farming. I don't know whether it was you or the ambassador. There is a huge scope for organic farming in this state. We produce the best turmeric in the world. We have started packaging it well, branding it well. It is going out of the country as well, but we suffer from the economy of scale. We cannot produce the kind of scale that will be required to meet the requirements of the rest of the world once they get to know about it. But this is our problem. I think we have to stick to the low volume, high economic cost. uh, so we also have many other products, but we suffer from lack of processing units. We do not have food processing units. We produce pineapples galore, but it has a short shelf life and it just sort of rots. And people, the farmers, you feel for the farmers because they produce it and then they don't have a space for using that to the maximum advantage. So I think I see so many areas of cooperation with the government, with uh, an organization like yours, and I hope that we will build this cooperation. I'm glad also to hear you speaking of several ports coming up, because in Meghalaya, for us, the Act East policy means looking south. It's the best way for us to get our products out. We have to look at Bangladesh. Any other outlet for us is too far, too distant, and too expensive, perhaps. I don't know why we haven't been able to have the use of the Chittagong port. I think once that opens up, there is immense possibility for trade and commerce. Maybe I'll stop there now. Maybe I'll come in again a little later.
Thank you. I think those were very useful points. Uh, may I request Ambassador Burgery to say a few words?
Okay. I thought it's too early, but it's okay. Maybe I can say something. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your very useful presentation, Dr. Chongje. Sorry. I have two things to say. First, I'll start with the more interesting one. Once I discovered that my grandchildren were watching TV with their cousins, and they were watching K-pop. So, and they were trying to mimic what was. So I thought, at this rate, I may have to learn Korean myself. And I see that in the note that you already in Manipur, I think they're already starting teaching Korean there. So that's very interesting. Now, the two not so interesting but important. I mean, in terms of fun-wise, one is strategic and the other is specific. The strategic is the note itself. Sabir Datta, in fact, in the very beginning, when he showed the map and all that, he spoke about the importance of Korea in the light of the Northeast, the strategic importance of Northeast in the light of the Indo-Pacific, geopolitical importance that is coming up. Now, I know we have a difficult situation, all of us, but the problem for Northeast is when it comes to the land connectivity with the rest of Southeast Asia and East Asia, including Korea, is the question of situation in Myanmar. How do you view the situation in Myanmar? Because we are all in the dark, I think, whatever it's so. And this is a big question for Northeast in terms of land connectivity. The other question is about specific, which Dr. Chongji is now, my friend here, Ms. Patricia Mukim, she had suggested so many things about the yourself mentioned about the potentialities, which is available here in this state and even the Northeast, in the agriculture sector, in many sectors, hydro sectors, and you emphasize about what you observe yourself about water resource. And I'm glad you noticed that immediately, because we do have a water problem. In fact, I myself had to run around for water today afternoon. So I think I want to suggest one thing. It will, if you're really interested, perhaps it also be good for you as an institute to go into the ecosystem here, because the certain local conditions here are such that may not be applicable to the rest of India. You have done a lot in India. I use Samsung phone, which has done something else in India. I would like to see Samsung coming out of this region, preferably Meghalaya. So, but I would suggest that, because it'll be wonderful if you can do something with water resource, environment, hydropower, and all that. It'll be wonderful. So this is my suggestion too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Vajri. I was thinking we can move on to discuss a little bit of health. Dr. Nalin Mehta, would you like to, because Dr. Cho also mentioned about health, anything specific from a very Northeast perspective where you feel that collaboration, cooperation is possible?
Thank you, Ambassador Ganguly Das. Good evening, Ambassador. My best to each and everyone present here. On the outset, I'd like to thank the Asian Confluence for having brought me here. And Ms. Mukim just mentioned the traffic. I got slightly stuck. But that's the least of our problems. Coming very specifically to health, we have an issue here. I run a super specialty hospital cum medical college, which is offering state-of-art equipment and facilities to people, and standard of care which is comparable to the best. Unfortunately, the place is not accessible to all my people from Meghalaya. We cater to the entire Northeast. I get bus loads every day from Silchar. There is that transport. I have lots of patients from some parts of Arunachal, but from the other areas, it becomes a little difficult to access it. So accessibility is an issue. And I would be extremely happy if we could collaborate in the field of health, public health, education, medical education, and hygiene. And this has to be not just collaborative work in terms of either giving funds or facilities, but in implementation research. Unfortunately, in our country, we lose more than a couple of million women and children every year to treatable conditions. We have the solution, we have the treatment, but we just can't reach them. And implementation research is something which we need to probably take a refuge in, and in a very big way. And this is an issue we faced when we fought this current pandemic. We had standard of care available. Our ICUs were full, doing a very good job. Vaccination program was very robust, but we couldn't reach most of the places. The government did a terrific job, no doubt. And even drone technology was introduced. It was mulled over initially, and now we are, looking forward to introducing that. So I think when it comes to transport, we have to have verticals in terms of air, water, and in terms of, the road transport. Movement of goods and material is extremely important and crucial even to my field. Hygiene, on an average, Meghalaya is one of the cleanest states you will see. Unfortunately, because of tourism, we do have a lot of littering. Not just tourists, even we see that happening in a few areas. Despite the cleanest village in the entire Asian region is with us. But I think we need to handle some of these issues with awareness programs, which is very easy, and implementation. Specifically talking about fields of health, there are areas wherein if we have medical experts from the Republic of Korea, which has some of the finest on the planet, we could collaborate and develop facilities. We could have exchange programs where we can expose Korean students to our setup, the healthcare setup in this country, especially the public health centers and the community health centers. We have a very robust system, and our students can visit and get a taste and flavor of the Korean healthcare system. Now, that having been said, to conclude, there was one very, very strong area, important area that we have missed. I don't see anybody here from the sports ministry. The Republic of Korea, congratulations, has done amazingly well in various fields, and including people who played for the Barclays Premier League. We have representatives in some of the finest world leagues. Your presence and performance in the World Cup has been tremendous, and in so many other fields, athletics. That is something where I think Northeast should benefit from a few coaches and exchange programs. And that is something we can exploit and do wonders. So sports, I think we omitted sports, culture, dance, forms, etc. And Mr. Ambassador, sorry to disagree with you slightly on the most popular one, but not to forget the Gangnam Style that started around here. And the Natu Natu came, I think, almost a decade later. And even now people go after size Gangnam Style. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for flagging sports. I think that's very important. If anybody around the table wants to also comment on sports, please do so. I was thinking of moving into the cluster of entrepreneurship and fashion now. May I request you, Madam Sriparna Barua, to say a few words?
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm audible like this. Thank you, Chair, Madam Das and His Excellency, and thank you so much for having a discussion like this in Shillong. Thanks to Asia Confluence and Sabyasachi Datta specifically for thinking, when you have a discussion like this in a space where we are looking at Shillong or in any part of Northeast, it makes so much more meaningful, and it appears as though something is really going to happen, although we keep discussing about a lot of things.
Uh, uh, very interesting points coming in. And since I come from the entrepreneurship space, we just like to highlight the sort of enterprises which are here across the value chain. Because when we talk about industry, we have to understand where does the volume lie. In Northeast, it's a question of, we have at the grassroots, across the value chain, you have at the grassroots, which are the cluster mode, where it's more of livelihood, farmer producer companies, etc. That's where the volume is. The second would be the MSME sector, where you have enterprises, not very many, but although in terms of numbers, you will find that substantial number of MSMEs are there. In terms of size, it is very small. Most of them are micro enterprises. We hardly have medium enterprises here and few small. And then, of course, the startup is something which has emerged over the last 4 or 5 years. And the young people have shown a lot of interest, a lot of startups coming and trying to solve problems in the address problems, local problems here. Having said that, and specifically when you have talked about food, organic tourism, ecotourism, I think these are the sectors which have a lot of opportunity. But when we are looking at any sort of partnership or investment coming in, we need to, I think the focus can be maybe knowledge sharing can happen in terms of how do we do more of value addition? How do we do more of, institution building? Because when we are looking at clusters, a lot of support is required. While in terms of institution building, when you're having a farmer producer companies, and that is how I think the entire region has to grow. It has to grow from the rural level, and you're talking about removing regional disparities, etc. That's where a lot of hand-holding is required, and so that is value addition is one. Organic is systematically, how do we get into organic? We are organic by default, except for Sikkim, which is of course an organic state. So when we are looking at organic, can some support handholding come for that? And so that these are the two things. And when we look at ecotourism, could we look at handloom and handicraft automatically comes in, because Northeast, if you look at the sectors, no one has talked about handloom, handicraft here. Along with, when we look at ecotourism, can we look at the sector also developing, simultaneously, the handloom and the handicraft sector? And one thing which I had in mind is when we're looking at ICT, can we look at ICT at the grassroots level? In sectors, in the livelihood sector, can we look at ICT there, because that's when we empower the grassroots. So this is one point I thought I would like to flag. And also one thing which I had in mind is, can we look at silk as a product from here, the Eri silk, which is a non-violent silk? Can we look at market of silk, muga, look at South Korea as a market? Is that, can we explore that possibility? Because I do not know about how that relates. I would like to get your views on that. And the last point which I would like to say is, can we have specific support for women entrepreneurship? Can we have incubators? When we say that here we have more of women enterprises, women are more very much empowered here, especially states like Manipur, Meghalaya, Assam, of course, is there. In fact, all the northeastern states. Can we look at women entrepreneurship, and incubation centers for women to scale up? Because women enterprises are really very micro, at the micro level. How do we accelerate the women-led enterprise? Thank you.
Very much. And again, you have also flagged a very important issue of women entrepreneurs. I think Northeast, in a sense, is really way above, way ahead of rest of India in terms of women entrepreneurship. And it's wonderful to see a lot of young women entering a very risky field fairly early in their lives, and they're doing quite well. But of course, the issue is that of scaling up and providing the marketing opportunities and the skilling opportunities to them. May I request you, Dr. Shankar Kumar Jha, to focus a little on fashion. He's Director of National Institute of Fashion Technology, Shillong.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, Excellency, Ambassador Das, Madam, Sabyasachi Datta, and all my colleagues. It's an honor to be part of sharing thought process on the very connected topic like connectivity with the Republic of Korea and the Northeast states. I think this topic is this Shillong is the right place to discuss such topics if you think from the all over India concerned, because as far as the connectivity is concerned, Northeast states is the most among the all states of India. This is the one state which is following the Korean culture at larger aspect. If you think the story of 11-year-old boy Naikoba way back, how he was fascinated to follow the Korean culture, the fashion. The guy is from the Arunachal Pradesh. And why I'm telling all these things, because we at a fashion school are closely studying, we instigate our students to follow all these story so that the students will be able to connect the fashion, the design, the culture, because this is the most important ethics in the country, in the habitual mode of operational thing, that people can connect in a common way. As far as the economics is concerned, all such kind of economic building exercise, the root is basically the dialogue, the following aspect of the two culture of human being. That is the important. And I think the school of various design institutes in India are very fondly associated with the following their culture of various countries, particularly whether the Republic of the Korea and the other. And as part of the student exchange program, we at NIFT, there is an exchange program. So our students from NIFT also used to visit the various countries, including the Republic of Korea, and the students from the Republic of Korea also used to come here, so that the purpose of this exchange program is to reduce the gap between the two countries' culture, their thinking process, their ethos, their style. So all these things are basically to build up some kind of more connections in between two countries as far as the fashion is concerned, trend is concerned, culture is concerned. One more thing I would like to discuss on these aspects is that India is known for the traditional knowledge. And as a Korean, they are the think tank process known for the various. So there is the collaboration should be in terms of bridging the gap between the traditional knowledge and the innovative thinking that Korean people are having. So if we combine this traditional knowledge and the innovative ideas, I think this will be the good, boost up exercise for both the countries, as well as the Republic of Korea, as well as the India also. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, may I request you, Mr. Ambassador Riva Walang, Distinguished Fellow Asian Confluence, my senior from the Foreign Service.
Thank you very much, my former colleague and chairman of this gathering tonight. And another welcome to our ambassador of Republic of Korea. This is your first visit to Shillong, is it? Okay. I have just a few comments, maybe not connected directly with what is happening in the Northeast, but I have served in Japan, so I know a little bit of Korea. I know that the relationship between Japan and Korea are not really at the level that the world would like to see, But recently there have been developments which show that there is some hope that maybe a new sort of thinking is coming into the picture, into the dialogue between these two countries. As Asians, I think we would very much like to see these two democracies, Japan and Republic of Korea, to have a close relationship because of the geopolitical developments. I think it would be really very helpful if these two countries can come together. That is one. The other thing that we have always known, through the decades, is how Korea has come up to be a developed country. I think that, but we don't know much about the model that you have been following. We know that South Korea is not a resource-rich country, but the way that you have come up industrially, and now you are amongst the developed countries in the world, I think we could learn a thing or two if we know, how Korea had been following its development process right from after the Korean War, and very quickly you had come up with industrialization and all that. Then also, if you look at the situation of geographical situation of South Korea, I think it is very similar to what we have in India. You have North Korea, as I was mentioning, relationship with Japan was not too good. And then you have China, which is the big dragon next door. Just as we are also facing China, Pakistan, all that. So how have you been able to deal with the security situation that South Korea is facing? We know that the US is an ally, but still, I mean, in spite of all these surrounding countries that are not too friendly, how have you been able to manage the situation? Then lastly, coming to Northeast India, we have heard a lot of exchanges from around the table, very useful. What we would like to see is, as from Patricia had mentioned earlier, you have come here for the first time. You would no doubt be taking a lot of information about the Northeast from this side. So how can Korea and Northeast India cooperate? Which are the fields that can be, that can open up for cooperation in the future, whether it is sustainable development, whether it is agriculture, whether it is mining or water resources. And so many aspects that can be looked up at. And then as Mr. Jha had mentioned, the collaboration in a lot of technical fields, exchange of scholars and experts, and also in the educational field, even though we do have a problem of language and all that, but I think that can be overcome. So if we could have a few words on these aspects, I think it would enlarge our information and understanding of Korea. Thank you very much.
So, time permitting, maybe we can have your comments later. Can I request Dr. Samudragupta Kashyap, also senior journalist, writer, and Chief Information Commissioner of Assam, to sort of, you come from a different perspective, you're based out of Assam. We would like to hear from you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Your Excellency, you have flagged off certain very important issues, and so also Dr. Chung Jae. And since both of you have flagged the issue of water resource, the Northeast has one of the largest rivers in the world, among the top 10, where the per second flow of water is about 19,000 cubic meters, and 99% of that is unutilized. Comes from Tibet and flows out to the Bay of Bengal through Bangladesh, and we are at one level we are a lower riparian, at the second level we are upper riparian, and most of the water resource has not been used at the moment. Like as Ambassador Waziri had pointed out, there's a crisis of water in Shillong, and so also power. My take would be that I'm looking at two things. One is that water resource is one area. Secondly, since tourism has been also touched upon, I do not know how good Koreans are as travelers. How many Koreans arrive in India every year as travelers and others, as also as researchers. But then sharing a commonality of religion, particularly Buddhism, I believe that there's a lot of things for the Korean to see in the Northeast, particularly in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. Arunachal has a presence of both streams of Buddhism in the west and in the east, and so also Assam. And one of the neighboring countries like Thailand has a special interest in the Northeast because every year they come for the annual ritual called Chibardan, where they visit one of the monasteries in the Northeast and then offer prayers and also make donations here. Korea was probably first heard in the region during the Seoul Asian Games and the Seoul Olympics. Though a lot of number of Korean products are household names in the region, I think there is very little presence of the word Korea in the media in the Northeast. Like coming basically with a media background, I'd like to see more stories about Korea, positive stories too, and also the story, as has been pointed out, the success stories of Korea, how Korea had emerged as a developed country that needs to be told to the younger generation of people in the India in general and in the Northeast in particular. And for that matter, several of the universities in the region have centers for Southeast Asian studies. Maybe there could be some institutional tie-up here. And as far as horticulture is concerned, Madam Patricia mentioned about turmeric. Northeast produces one of the largest quantity of ginger and the best quality of ginger here. Northeast is the original home to various kinds of citrus fruits and bananas in the world. And this is the 200th year of Indian tea being grown, originated in Assam. We are celebrating 200 years of quote-unquote discovery of tea by the British, as we are already drinking tea from a time immemorial. So I look at some tie-up of institutional tie-up with the think tank and also of the research and educational institutions of your country in the Northeast, as also with more presence in terms of cultural exchanges. Football is very popular in the Northeast, and so also other contact games, including martial arts. And then telling the story, I believe, is very, very important, telling the success story of Korea to the Northeastern people. Thank you.
I think that's a very important point that we are often we have good political economic relations amongst countries, but at the people to people level, the information about each other is still something that needs to be disseminated. And the more we know about each other, the more we can get closer in all sectors. It's very important. I would like to now shift the discussion to the education sector. We've got three people from education. I don't know if is Dr. Prasenjit Biswas here. Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, I think if he can, is an associate professor in. Oh, what is?
I'll introduce myself.
Okay, okay.
Chairperson of this meeting. I'm representing Northeastern Hill University, and we're down in the East Office of International Affairs, and we have that privilege of hosting Ambassador Chang Jae-bong for the first time in Shillong. And we had a very, very fruitful discussion. As I represent Professor Prabhashankar Shukla, the Vice Chancellor of Northeastern University, I have a certain brief to restate some of the premises that we have already stated between us. Last year, as you visited, our students were sort of very much enthralled and excited to really see you at present. And also they were excited about your reference to kimchi food, if you remember. And that was something that we really pursued, and probably kimchi is being sold in our campus at this moment. That's one impact of your visit that you have left. And we talked about a lot of other great things. We talked about the role that NEHU plays in the Northeastern region in terms of cutting edge research in life sciences, in bioinformatics, in data sciences, in electronics, in computer science, in nanotechnology, and also in humanities, social sciences, cultural anthropology, Buddhism, Indian philosophy, and languages. So we sort of presented a more holistic picture of what is happening in the context of Northeast India and how the younger generation is trained by the oldest central university of the region, which is Northeastern University. So we wanted a kind of hen holding together, which is mutually beneficial. And therefore, your second coming is a deja vu for us. And probably Vice Chancellor wanted me to communicate that if you have time and if you revisit us, we'll be again able to welcome you because we have the largest diversity of students and researchers of the whole region. And therefore, I'm sure that will be very productive in terms of visiting the largest public institution of the region. So I think certain tasks remain unfinished here, and probably certain steps are needed to bring things together in terms of developing indigenous and local knowledge systems in which much interest has been shown. Also, in terms of resource conservation and replenishment of resources in natural, cultural, and social settings. Therefore, we would like a more positive dialogue to follow, which should be more holistic, involving all the universities and important think tanks of the region, so that Korea really steps into a kind of a stronger association with us, and the distance is removed. I think this is what Honorable Vice Chancellor wanted me to communicate, and with this, I thank you again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Biswas. And uh, good, maybe after a little few more rounds of intensive diplomacy, we can add new lexicon to to the diplomatic lexicon, kimchi diplomacy. Hmm? That would be a nice addition from the northeastern side. I don't see Dr. Ritu and Shomin Chakraborty. I think they're not here. So can I request, Munish has also just stepped out. So may I request uh, Dr. You may, yeah, please, senior fellow at senior fellow at Confluence.
I had a question for Dr. Prasenji. Since they have had a meeting in Teku and they discussed a whole bunch of research prospects, I was just wondering if anything came out of that, if there are any collaborative efforts and subsequent follow-up to that particular visit.
We are still expecting and looking up to a kind of a collaboration with Ambassador Chang. And yes, last time there was Ms. Kang as the second secretary with whom we carried out a long discussion. And also, I think some of you were there. And science and technology, of course, that is very much needed this time. Hopefully, as Professor Mehta is there, so we have a possibility of building up a greater synergy in terms of student exchange, which Professor Jha has also mentioned. So whether we can drive at a greater synergy or not in terms of building up human resources, in terms of enhancing systems, in terms of prioritizing certain areas, that will be policy of India prioritizes. These will be the key issues to discuss.
Thank you. Gyome.
Thank you, ma'am. I think a lot of ground has already been covered. What I'll just say is a couple of issues or areas that I think could be looked at. One is film industry itself. I mean, in the Northeast, we are still in the initial stage of in the field of film industry, and Korea is well placed to to collaborate with the Northeast. Assam, Manipur, perhaps have taken some steps forward, but the other states are still lacking in terms of as far as film industry is concerned. Then on the economic diplomacy, I think again, the Japanese have taken a lead in as far as hard infrastructure is concerned. I mean, you take connectivity, you take the kind of road projects that Japan has been helping and working in the Northeast. I think Korea is again well placed to take a lead in the soft infrastructure development in the region. Capacity building, skill development has already been mentioned. And I think that's an area again there has been not many countries in this region to take that in that sector to help the region, and perhaps South Korea is a country that could take the lead. And lastly, I think I just want to point out that a lot of these discussions that we have in Professor mentioned about that discussion in Nehu. Today we are having this in Asian Confluence. Going forward, how do we, sort of institutionalize this? Create some mechanism around this, the discussions that we're having. I would imagine, the idea of having the Act East Forum that Japan, India has along those lines. If Korea and India can also have some mechanism that would, take these ideas forward. The Act East Forum that India, Japan has is actually meant for, to coordinate, collaborate on developments on the Northeast and the neighborhood, Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Bhutan, Nepal. So I think if South Korea and India could also think of some mechanisms that could, that could institutionalize these ideas, that would be great.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yome. Munish, would you like to say something? Munish Singh is Zonal Director of ICCR. I had the privilege of being DG, Director General of ICCR. And, the big Sarang festival in Seoul is partly sponsored by ICCR. ICCR also runs a cultural center, the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Seoul. So ICCR has a very strong connect with ROK. So Munish Singh actually heads the ICCR center in Shillong. Munish, if you would like to share something.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. It's an honor to see you again, my former
my
boss,
pleasure.
sir, Ambassador Sir, Chang, Jaipok, and all the distinguished participants of today's discussion. I was really enjoying each points being made by the members. I am basically an artist, sir. I'm a musicologist. That's how maybe I got a job in ICCR, which is more onto cultural part. So since everyone was discussing more on the relation, the connection between Northeast India and South Korea, I would also like to share a few anecdotes and points on that regard. My experience with Korea starts with like 25, 30 years back with a Korean channel called Arirang. I think it played a very major role in making the people of Northeast India understanding the culture of South Korea. And slowly people realized that everything within the people of Northeast and the Southeast, the Korean people were alike. The affinities, the cultural affinities were so close that slowly now it's the ripe time. I mean, people are enjoying now. From the last 25, 30 years, Arirang channel, I'm one of them, sir, because as I said, I'm being a musicologist. There was a program in Arirang. It starts around 7:30 with a beautiful Korean lady in her traditional dress. Every week, she would discuss about one traditional instrument or style of singing of South Korea, sir. It really gives me a lot of hope, lot of, inspiration within my own musical world in Northeast India. And why should not we also come up? Because those days, and even now also, we are more prone to the Western music, Western culture. So my focus is more on, promoting and preserving the indigenous culture of Northeast India, where we have more than 200 tribes. with diverse culture, unique culture. So yesterday, actually, I was the curator of the G20 summit, and I presented the entire, traditional culture of Meghalaya. Starting from, let's say, a Pinter orchestra, an artist, a boy who sees a sitarist like Ravi Shankar, and he wants to play the sitar, but he has no means to reach there, learn like that. But he make his own sitar, he make it, he learn it, and he call it sitor, and he played it so well. Yesterday he played Sare Jahan Se Acha with that. So such kind of thing here. The connection of culture is very important, where it's natural. Nobody is forcing anyone to do this, but it's coming out natural. Like food, sir, as you said, kimchi, when we don't eat as a Korean food. We eat as one kind of our own food, sir, because the taste is so similar. Likewise, since you are in Shillong, I would request you to taste Tugurumbai or Tumtak. You won't feel any foreign food in it. You'll feel that you're having one food of your own, like or Manipuri Singju. So the first thing that connect, I think, is the food, which is really very similar. And the second thing, sir, is the fashion. The fashion headed by the K-pop culture, the fashion, the teenagers especially is very crazed with the Korean fashion. Everyone follows Korean fashion now, and the music and the dance. These four things, sir. So I have a friend from Nehu Kongström Ledekar. We went for some occasion, and her daughter was there, around 16, 17 years old. So we were all gathering, and I just told her to sing a song, and she said, I will sing a Korean song. And she sang it so well, sir. But my point is, it is her own interest that she learned that. So maybe I think, the government should focus on where is the interest, the natural interest. I think it will bring more, closeness and more development in between the two regions of Northeast India and South Korea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Munish. Dr. Binayak Datta, Senior Fellow, Asian Confluence. You've heard, you're generally in the role of summarizing, but I've left that role for our Honorable Governing Council member. So just, your thoughts on what you heard.
Respected Chairperson, ma'am, Ambassador Bok, who's His Excellency. I'm not going to repeat anything that has been said so far. But what I want to flag are essentially something which I felt would be interesting for us as people who are from here. While we have instances of institutional collaboration, both at the level of the state, institutions of the state, I would like to flag grassroots collaboration. In Northeast India, grassroots institutions play a very, very important role. Is it possible that the grassroots institutions from this region could collaborate with Republic of Korea, not at the level of the state, but in terms of technology transfers, in terms of ideas, in terms of exchange of people, because we are already receptive to a lot of Korean culture. So in that sense, is it possible to collaborate at the grassroots level? The second important point in which I felt we are all privy to is climatic change, global warming,
whether we are in Korea or we are in Shillong, we are actually all affected by it. I think I want to draw your attention to natural resource regeneration, whether Korean technology could actually come in to assist in natural resource regeneration, because we have not only shortage of water, but we are actually also seeing degeneration of our natural resources. We have Ma'am Patricia Mukim sitting here, who actually is actively engaged in river regeneration, streamlet regeneration. Could we actually have that process of technology transfer through which we have natural resource regeneration? Could we have that collaboration? And the third important thing, and which somehow we can have institutions, both state and grassroots organizations collaborating with various agencies of Republic of Korea, is in terms of language learning. We have seen technology transfers, and at the level of institutions, big multinationals, essentially encouraging language learning. But could we also have grassroots language learning exchange programs by which people at the grassroots essentially are then exposed to Korean technology, Korean culture, Korean people, and could also share what we have? It's not just important to get, but it's also important to share what we have. So those are the three aspects which I thought I would like to share with you. But it's a fantastic opportunity for us to interact with you, and thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Dr. Binayak Datta. May I request Ms. Pushpa Hargovan, who has many years of experience in development sector. She's worked with NGOs, with communities, local communities, to please share your thoughts with us.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of communities here in Shillong, and basically development and water and sanitation. And what I was pretty amazed about, I was excited about coming to a place that has the highest rainfall in the world, and found that people actually suffer major water shortages, especially in Sora area, where there's major rainfall. So that was an issue that concerned me. And also, of course, I feel that there should be collaboration with transportation, because there are massive traffic jams here. And Korea has developed good infrastructure as far as, traffic management. And so I think this is where there should be some collaboration with the North, with Meghalaya especially, and maybe the Northeast, because a lot of new places are being developed. More cars are coming, like in Manipur, for instance, and now, we have these problems. I did live in Bangladesh, and one of the things that fascinated me is the number of Koreans that live in Dhaka. And I was wondering what's happening. How did they come there? And I found that they assisted Bangladesh in the textile sector. And Bangladesh textile owners were very smart in knowing that Koreans had an amazing technology in particular types of machinery where they could give very refined finished products. And this is where Bangladesh has won in textile. And I think this is the type of thing that needs to come here, because there's huge textile industry here, but there's nobody to assist them to do the finish and to market the products abroad. And I feel that it's very vital that Koreans can help. I feel that Mr. Cho should have an office here in Shillong and help with some of these issues that are lacking here. And I think that would be a great benefit to not only Shillong, but the entire Northeast. We do need some sort of, South Korea is a very developed country and would like to know how they manage to develop themselves and become like first world, and this is where the assistance is needed in the Northeast. There are many, many products here, but developing it, marketing it, these are the things that are lacking. In some infrastructure is lacking. This is what I would like to point out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pushpa. May I request member of ASCON? He's going to. You would like to say something?
Thank you, Chair. I'm Hyo-hee Lee. I'm in charge of a scientific cooperation between two countries, and many people suggested potential areas, cooperation areas, and I will follow up with what we discussed here. And I'd like to highlight the importance of a circular bioeconomy. And recently, I'm attending some G20 meetings, like research innovation initiative gatherings, and one of the main agendas is circular bioeconomy. We are discussing how to develop circular bioeconomy and how to transition to more sustainable economy. And I believe this Northeast India is one of the best places for developing circular bioeconomy, because this area is enriched of biodiversity, and this area is also a home to a variety of bio-based LIIG. Yeah, so it's a home to a variety of bio-based materials like bamboo, timber, and agricultural byproducts and forestry byproducts. We can replace petroleum-based products with this kind of bio-based materials. And this topic will continue to be discussed down the road. And my understanding is that central government of India is also very interested in this area, because this circular bioeconomies can make a lot of contribution to addressing climate change, and it also make a lot of contribution to the developing villages in many remote areas in India, because every farmer and every residents can participate in this circular bioeconomy activities. So I think there are many areas where we can work together in this field, and also there are many potential areas like telemedicine using AI and telecommunication technology, and the utilization of drone technologies, and 5G, 6G, and energy, and climate change. But to be honest, it takes time. It requires a lot of money and infrastructure. So it is important to find the easiest and fastest way of cooperation. And cooperation in this circular bioeconomies can be one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you for flagging a number of important issues where you've already had discussions. Ms. Shakuntala Gamling is a member of our governing council of the Asian Confluence. She's former Chief Secretary of Arunachal Pradesh. She's got many years of experience in civil services, and she's also an expert on climate change. I've had the privilege of working with her when we were much younger and we were still in service. Shakuntala, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Reba. His Excellency, Ambassador Chang Jie-bo, and all the distinguished delegates from Korea, and also the academicians, the media, and the ambassadors, retired Ambassador Wajri and Ambassador River Walyang, and also director from NIGRIMS, and the research scholar from Nagaland, professor from Nehu, and the chief information commissioner from Assam, and all distinguished delegates, somebody who's looking after MSME in Assam, and somebody from NIFT, somebody from the Indo Cultural Center, and other delegates who are here. I would first like to compliment and congratulate both Ambassador from the Korea, His Excellency, and Viva for the 50th year celebration of the diplomatic relations, which they have dated back to the 48th century AD, where the Indian princess made a foray into Korea, and the cultural relations have been established to almost 2,000 years back. As a retired civil servant who's been associated with climate change, development of infrastructure, I've even worked in Delhi in the municipal corporation, and seen, issues regarding water shortage, and also the national inventories of various countries where the emissions responsibilities were fixed on the Western countries, and Asian and developing countries were yet to sort of join in the legal responsibilities, and how the Kyoto Protocol negotiations failed, and people talked of intensity energy reduction. So I think sustainable development, climate change, and livelihood issues, water shortage, water scarcity. Somebody mentioned water everywhere. Still, there's no water to drink. I think these are issues which somebody mentioned deja vu. It's like a deja vu for me because I have been engaged in all the subjects which were discussed. I must say that as a retired civil servant who has seen, workings not only at the Government of India level, but even at the state administration level and the civic administration level, when I see your discussions today, and when I see each of you making a point which is so relevant, I feel very gratified and satisfied that all of you uh, have actually gone through the process of learning, and the learning curve has not only been with civil servants, it has been with society, it has been with all of us. And I think as secretary, of the Government of India, when I was dealing with human rights issues of special needs children, we had organized an IT sort of global competition with LG in Korea, where special needs children who had hearing disability or visual disability or autism, or who had motor skills disability, what kind of accessibility and ICT sort of changes we need to make to see that communication itself should be made accessible to special needs children, whether it would be a big size font or braille keyboards for the children. So I thought Korea and the communication technology which has emanated from Korea has helped not only Indian special needs children, I think world over you have contributed greatly towards, accessibility issues of information communication technology. And when I heard your think tank scholar, Chung Jae, who mentioned, and I had a small interaction with him this morning. He mentioned the key sectors of urban infrastructure, transportation, healthcare, and education, and also culture and food processing. I thought that most of us have already gone ahead in terms of policy, where ministries have been involved, where agencies that would look at coordinating with different stakeholders, like Madam Barua, who's there. So such agencies are working at different regional levels to bring in partners, to bring in business, to bring in sort of, grassroots level workers. So I think this is the best opportunity for all of us to get together. As far as climate change is concerned, when I was passing by Omiam Lake and I saw, there was a lot of, the shrinkage of the water body. And when one drives over the bridges of Brahmaputra and when one there's a shrinkage. I think we need to address climate change issues very closely. Somebody mentioned about, how to recharge the natural sort of underground water aquifer, by way of which you have water harvesting, and where you see that water harvesting is mandatory for building bylaws, and also to see that every household must be engaged with the responsibility of recharging the water, and to see that natural water tank and water bodies where the water flow should be channelized, those should not be obstructed, because cities and many urban areas are suffering from all that. But having said that, I would say that today the Northeast is one of the regions where people talk about organic food chain. People talk about, connectivity, which has advanced in leaps and bounds. As chief secretary, I remember taking a decision that we should have an airport in Arunachal Pradesh. Many of us would have been dissuading this decision because, some of the airports were there in the foothills of Assam, but the political executive or the government or the local sort of people felt that, it is a matter of pride to have one's airport. And when we took a decision, we had two sides in mind. So whether we should have it in the foothills or whether we should have it on the a mountaintop table runaway, which could actually be unsafe. So often when I was sitting with the chief minister and the ministers for a cabinet decision on such matters, I would try to see that, we would reason out what are the kind of safety things that we need to keep in mind. And we found that we should have it in the foothills. We should have at least a 2.5-kilometer runway where Boeings could land. So I would say that such decisions which come from good governance, good government, good leadership, actually, without much ado, creates a revolutionary change for the state, and it advances the state in many ways, whether it is economic development, whether it is academic development, whether it is infrastructure development. So I would say that today the northeastern states are very, very proactive in good measure, and whether it is collaboration amongst themselves or whether it is collaboration with a country, which is the bilateral relations or part of an umbrella bilateral protocol, I think I would say that the Riva and the ambassador can make things work, and we can only share very dispassionately how much we have sort of come forward, and how the administration, government, community, academia, the media, and the intellectuals, or even the grassroots level workers can contribute towards this collective vision. Somebody mentioned about migrants. I was Joint Secretary Health when we recruited about 130 sort of, professors, assistant professors, and we contributed towards the cancer, building in your migrants university. And we also thought that there were no cardiology, cardiologist specialists in the Northeast. So why don't we post a cardiovascular surgeon here? Today I hear of pacemakers being, set in without any difficulty. Cardiologists are there, and many imaging technologies can be done in super specialty treatments in migrants. And most of the northeastern states, patients need not go to Delhi or to some super specialty in Calcutta or Chennai as they used to. So I would say that most of us have been, seeing such developments taking place, and whether it is public health or whether it is infant mortality rate reduction or it's maternal mortality rate reduction, I think the northeastern states have made tremendous progress, and we must congratulate the governments here, the academia here, the specialists here, the public health workers here, the technocrats, the artists, and all the entrepreneurs who have collectively worked with a collective vision. Having said that, I would say that the discussion today sums up the good opportunity of coming together and to see that some of our dreams of taking the state forward, whether it is issues of climate change or sustainable development, or whether it is urban infrastructure or railway network or air connectivity, or whether it's public transport systems, there's tremendous scope for collaboration. It is only that we need to work with the governments and the departments critically to analyze which are the focal points on which we should bring the collaboration and make it happen without much sort of delay and without much discussion. We should work with a focused mind, and we should see that the collaboration must be realized for the general good of not only the northeastern states or India, but for the global world when we talk of climate change and sustainable development. So thank you very much. I would like to thank the Asian Confluence Center. Sabya has always been a very, very active sort of coordinator. He has brought many thinkers, and he calls it a think tank, and we are trying to think, so that we all come together. But whether it was the Nadi Festival, where we talked of renewable energy and hydroelectricity and collaboration with, Nepal and Bangladesh, where renewable energy percentage share in the energy mix also needs to be increased. I think these are issues which have been discussed, and we need to see that right down to the decision-making level, whether it is a small NGO, whether it is a community, whether it is women, or whether it is government or departments or business, they need to come together and think sort of in concert, so that whatever we have sort of discussed in terms of taking the agenda forward becomes a dream that we realize together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gamlin. Excellency, would you like to say a few words? You've heard a lot of views being expressed, a lot of sectors have been identified. It would be useful to have some
Yeah.
your thoughts.
Thank you so much for participating very actively. And this roundtable is, I think, very useful for our embassy to prepare somewhat specific strategy to be more engaged in Northeast India from the perspective of Korea. Yes, I thank very much the ASEAN Confluence. Together, this good mix of people, the various fields. And so the first, what we obtained from this roundtable is identification of the what to do or how to do, or some ideas. So we definitely took note of what you said, and then we will continue to collaborate with the Asian Conference and to step forward and then to do something useful in the near future. And for the comments to specific the speakers, maybe we can. I will spend too much time, but anyway, for the I don't have time to yeah to make comments on each speakers, and my impression is that first of all, we need more the people-to-people exchanges and people-to-people contacts between India and Korea. Many the speakers mentioned about exchange programs. We promote exchange programs, and also the Korean language education in India. Especially, we set up the Korean language center in Manipur at the University of the Manipur, and also we have some more the institutions in various cities. And definitely we will try to put more the language institute, and also try to bring the language teacher from Korea. But in reality, it's very difficult to bring Korean people, or Korean teachers, or Korean experts to India. Maybe still there is the Korean people have not correct the information about India, and they are afraid of very harsh conditions in India. So they don't come easily to India. That's the problem. Even for business people, Actually, the madam, you mentioned about the Bangladesh, the textile company, the investment in Dhaka. Why that company went to Bangladesh? Bangladesh offered more favorable conditions and maybe the cheaper labor cost also. But however, the most important is that the investment conditions for that company to do the business there. So I suggest that the Northeast India also should try to provide more favorable conditions for Korean people to come here, and also to maybe that's the work of the Indian embassy in Korea to let India generally and also Northeast India specifically to Korean people. So that's the way. And my task is to let the Indian people know and correctly about in Korea. And also we try to do more two-way communications, especially in the cultural sector. That's why we put the video clip of Not to Dance cover. That's the way to show our respect to the Indian pop culture. But there are many cultural aspects. So not only the popular culture, but also traditional culture, we will continue to kind of the exchange in many sectors. Yep. Anyway, thank you so much for your precious time. And we identified what you said about your needs for future cooperation, but also we identified who are important in this region. So I hope we will continue to work together with you, and then, yeah, as you mentioned, the institutionalize this kind of mechanism is very important. So we will work on that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you. I think from what you said and from what we've heard, one of the big takeaways from this roundtable is that we really need more two-way communication between, ourselves. And as Mr. Dr. Kashyap said, that there needs to be more information about Korea in our local media as well. And just as you said, that bringing in Koreans to India is a challenge because people don't really know about the country. So, both ways, I think information exchange, even in this day and age of information overload, this sort of issue exists. A couple of other very important takeaways from a very northeastern perspective was that many of you spoke about grassroots level collaboration, which is very unique to Northeast, I must say. Northeast is quite different culturally, and it's very diverse internally also. We often club the entire Northeast and say this is Northeast, but actually Northeast is very diverse. Each state is very diverse within itself, so there is enormous diversity in Northeast. But I think the grassroots level collaboration is something which is very unique to Northeast, and that was a very important point that was mentioned. Women's entrepreneurship, I think, is a very, very important point. It's a mainstream sort of priority of the government for empowerment of women, and that is important. Marketing was mentioned, scaling up of marketing, hard and soft infrastructure was mentioned, capacity building, and technical exchange of knowledge and technical knowledge. So these are some of the very general points which have been mentioned. And sectorally, I think we can say that environmental protection, climate change, ICT in transport sector, alternative livelihoods, natural resource regeneration, very important point, green energy, energy collaboration, organic farming, something which is a low-hanging fruit, something in which collaboration is, that way easier perhaps, public health, medicine, education, eco-tourism, and several other areas. I've quickly jotted down only a
I
few
just
points.
wanted to mention, Riva, there's a sports university in
Sports,
So
yeah.
you could also sort of engage there.
Yeah. So altogether, it has been extremely useful as the first round of dialogue. Thank you, all of you, for your participation. You've been, you made your points very sharply, and we've also been able to finish almost on time, a little exceeding our time a little bit. Thank you all, and very, very special thanks to His Excellency Ambassador Chanjibok for coming to Asian Confluence, for spending so much time with everyone here, and for I hope this will help you and your team to have a better perspective of what Northeast stands for and what Northeast needs, and so that you can build a strategy for the Northeast. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
A group photograph.
Yeah,
I think this would be a quite a memorable day for all of us. You can refer to it.
That's a good discussion. Very good discussion. Made you think about a lot of issues, you know.
So after the photograph, we also have dinner. Please don't leave without having dinner. And it's a good time to network and talk about what we can do, or even otherwise. Yeah. So please.